What causes breast cancer? It's a question evoking controversy.
I accuse the cancer establishment of failing to provide women with information.
Robert Bazell reviews the latest breast cancer research and uncovers new theories that might surprise you.
Plus, find out who is in tonight's Dateline Spotlight. Dateline with Jane Pauley and Stone Phillips, plus Tom Brokaw, Katie Couric, and Maria Shriver. From Studio 3B in Rockefeller Center, here is Stone Phillips.
Good evening. You may not have heard of them, but in one Texas community, they are very big news. They're members of a spiritual group who seem to think that God can appear on TV and that he may be about to pay a visit tomorrow, which for some is raising the specter of the Heaven's Gate suicides, leading them to wonder if another tragedy of massive proportions may be on the way. Here's Bob McHugh.
When they first came, they said they were conditioning themselves to go on the spaceship.
They say the world is about to end in a flood and nuclear explosion. They believe they'll be the lucky few who are saved, taken to heaven in a flying saucer. Since last fall, more than 150 members of God's Salvation Church have moved from Taiwan to this quiet residential neighborhood outside Dallas. Every day, they meet at the home of this man, known as Master Chen, a former sociology professor who preaches a mixture of Buddhism, Christianity, and New Age religion.
Now we're going to show people how God can come and go through the different spaces of different dimensions.
Why would so many people travel halfway around the world to follow this man? Well, last year, Master Chen claimed that God told him he was coming to Earth. According to Chen, God would look exactly like Chen himself and be able to speak every known language and walk through walls. What's more, God apparently gave Master Chen a date, tomorrow, March the 31st, a time, 10 a.m., and a place, 3513 Ridgedale Drive, right here in Garland, Texas.
It's our understanding that they believe Garland is related to Godland.
Last December, the Taiwanese press ignited a panic when it reported that the group might commit mass suicide when God arrived. Reports came from worried relatives of church members back home in Taiwan. One family was reportedly concerned enough to hire a private detective to bring relatives home from the U.S. Most of Chen's followers are middle-class professionals, doctors, lawyers, university teachers. They sold their homes in Taiwan, got visitors' visas to the U.S., and came to Texas, where they've bought literally dozens of houses with cash. They're hard to miss in their white cowboy hats. Neighbors say they're pleasant and polite. But some find the group's beliefs eerily similar to those of the former members of the Heaven's Gate cult.
I relate them to Heaven's Gate real strong. When they were going to be levitated aboard the UFO or rocket ship or whatever it was, they're following their leader to this point. It's pretty well a carbon copy to this point.
A spokesman for the church says members are free to go whenever they choose. He emphatically denies they have any intention of hurting anyone, especially themselves. But some wonder, given disturbing rumors of suicide, how far can you go to protect people from themselves when they don't ask for help?
If past events are any indication, the stakes may be high. It was just over a year ago that 39 members of Heaven's Gate drank their lethal cocktails of vodka and Valium, then followed the leader they called Doe into the hereafter.
We have been given information on how to go from the human kingdom into the kingdom of heaven.
Murder-suicides took the lives of 74 members of the Solar Temple cult in Canada and Switzerland in the last 3 years. More than 900 died at Jonestown in Guyana.
I am worried about those people who may be led to do things without their informed consent.
Herb Rosedale is the president of the American Family Foundation, a fringe religion watchdog group. He says the government must do all it can to ensure that tragic legacy is not repeated.
Let's take the example of Heaven's Gate. What more could have been done there? 38 people died. What could have been done to save their lives?
It is unclear that every member there voluntarily consented to and intended to achieve the result. Therefore, people could have been interviewed, could have been given options, and then allowed to freely return to the group when it was convinced that that was their choice.
They're a religious group, and they're protected by our Constitution, with freedom of religion.
Bob Loudon is director of the Criminal Justice Institute at the John Jay College in New York City.
Strangeness is not against the law, and there's no connection. I mean, we can make a logical connection. We can make an intellectual connection between this group and Heaven's Gate and Waco and Jonestown, and we could sit down and say, all the signs are here. That's not enough under the law to do something.
There is at least one major difference between the members of Heaven's Gate and the group in Garland. Children. There are more than 40 kids in God's Salvation Church, from babies to teenagers. They spend virtually all their time with other church members because they don't go to school. Parents say they're tutoring the youngsters at home themselves. Herb Rosedale says someone has to look out for those kids.
As a state, we have 40 children who might have no idea how they wound up in Garland, Texas, and have no desire to enter into the new life on some UFO.
Dateline asked Marley Meisner, a spokesperson for the Texas Department of Child Protective Services, if the agency had investigated any potential threats to those children. She says that without more specific warning signs, the agency simply has done all it can do.
We don't have opportunities to just intervene in people's lives.
If you had specific information that mass suicide had been discussed within that group, would that give you a reason to act?
If we received a report that this group was considering a mass suicide, we would immediately begin an investigation.
Now, are you aware there have been reports in the public in Taiwan from which the group has come to that effect?
I'm aware of reports that I have read about and heard about in the media. However, we've not received any reports to our agency from anyone who is within the organization or close to the organization or from law enforcement that's able to substantiate this.
And other agencies have echoed that response. The INS told Dateline that all members of the group are in the country legally, so it has no role. The FBI says that though it can't confirm or deny involvement in an investigation, it does not gather intelligence on any organization without legal cause. And in fact, all the experts to whom we spoke said that without specific evidence of criminal activity or intent, there's not much more that can be done in Garland, Texas.
Is the problem here that under some circumstances, if some people are truly determined, it may simply be impossible for anyone to protect them from themselves? I think that is true anywhere, not only in Garland, but anywhere in the world.
Last week, on March the 25th, church members in Garland flocked to Master Chen's home. He had assured them that at exactly 12:01 that day, God would broadcast details of his visit to Texas on Channel 18, a kind of divine commercial to everyone in North America, with or without cable. But in Garland that night, even the true believers who tuned to Channel 18, a religious station, saw only this.
We welcome all of you that are watching. This is...
Through his spokesman, Chen says his prophecies may no longer be certain, but that he will remain in Garland studying and teaching.
Even though the captions, the image doesn't show on the television, I don't have any reason to doubt the existence of the Supreme Being, God.
Most of his followers say they'll stay as well, trusting in Master Chen and waiting for God.
Only a few days or few weeks, I think we'll have the answer, real answer from the God.
Garland, Texas police say they are preparing for an onslaught of media and curiosity seekers tomorrow. In the meantime, members of the group say they will not be making any more statements about their plans.
Still ahead, does anyone really know what causes breast cancer? Find out what the latest research shows and why there's so much controversy. Also, kids who kill. What drives them to do it? What are the warning signs?
In most of the youngsters' cases I've done, they get sent out all sorts of warnings.
A search for answers after Jonesboro.
The other day, Karen had to hurry to a surprise birthday party.
Honey, the doctor's on her way. Almost there.
So Karen didn't need any surprises from her car.
Just breathe. Breathe easy.
Ford Taurus has millions of real-life miles behind it, and a reliable door-tech engine in it.
Doctor's here. I hear someone's in a hurry.
And I know 2 people. Make that 3 people. And we're sure glad that she bought this car. Ford Taurus, built to last.
My grandma churned real sweet butter. It was so fresh and creamy, I could hardly wait for a taste. Tastes like churn style, without the waste.
Country Crop Churn Style, the taste of sweet butter from the farm.
Now's the time to roll into Sears because you can save $20 to $60 on a set of 4 select Michelin, Bridgestone, Trailhandler, or Viper tires. So get in, get tires, and get rolling. Sears Auto Center.
As a working mom, I want convenient and affordable air service when my family travels. Tallahassee Regional has made flying as convenient as it gets anymore, but the affordability is entirely up to the airlines. The airlines put their planes where they're needed, where people are flying. Hopefully, now that more people are flying out of Tallahassee Regional, the airlines will see that there's a need for more air service here and at more affordable prices. But until that happens, we've got to keep flying.
Now the Russian mob has her in their sights.
We've got
And William Baldwin
So what happened?
Figure out who's trying to kill you.
has her life in his hands. The NBC theatrical premiere of Fair Game. NBC Sunday. Parental discretion advised.
They thought someone did her in, but prepare yourself. She's about to unmask her darkest secret.
I'm not dead.
The mystery of the killing pool continues. Days of Our Lives. From Studio 3B in New York, here is Jane Pauley.
Is love just a matter of common sense? Men buy cologne. Women buy perfume. They think it will help attract the opposite sex.
Ladies, CK1 by Calvin Klein.
But research shows the scent that most turns on men is a combination of lavender and pumpkin pie. And what most puts women in the mood?
What smell increases sexual arousal in women? The combination of good and plenty and cucumber.
Imagine that.
Is her leg better?
Now that we've helped you find love, we'll show you how to keep it. Tonight we take you to the Love Lab.
So cut to the chase. What did you learn here?
The story coming up on Dateline.
Sorry.
Late for work? Try the new Accord E6 Coupe from Honda.
As part of the world's #1 real estate sales organization, Century 21 offices have more people, resources, and power to help you find the home of your dreams. That's the power of #1, Century 21.
Turn your tap water into clear, wonderful tasting water with the Brita water filtration pitcher. Brita. Tap water transformed.
Somewhere between home white and road gray, there's chalk. Where chalk blends with clay, there's dust. And if you keep your eye dead center, where dust and ash converge, you'll strike an overpowering color called smoke. One of the colors between the colors created by Canon. Canon Laser Color. Its only competition is reality.
News breaks. Markets move. See it on CNBC.
The company plans to withdraw the weight loss medication Redux.
Deals developed. Stock shipped. See it on CNBC.
The $30 billion bid for MCI.
As the world's leader in business news, CNBC has the contacts, the expertise, and the power to make sure you hear it first and hear it fast, while you still have time to make your move. CNBC. We make your business our business.
From our studios in New York, here again is Jane Pauley.
For the first time in most of our lifetimes, overall rates of new cancer cases are declining. There's even some welcome news in the battle against breast cancer. After climbing for 20 years, the number of new breast cancer cases has finally leveled off. But breast cancer still kills about 40,000 American women a year, and the cause remains largely unknown. Here's NBC's chief science correspondent Robert Bazell with the latest on the baffling question of what causes this disease and some possible answers that might surprise you.
We're not going to be quiet anymore. We're not going to die politely.
We've gotten more attention. We've gotten more dollars. We've got pink ribbons. Pink ribbons are not going to save us.
By now, we're all familiar with the grim statistics. Each year, about 180,000 American women are diagnosed with breast cancer. Nancy Evans never figured she'd be one of them.
I thought probably heart disease would be the way I'd check out. Never occurred to me that I would have cancer.
She was 52 years old when she heard the devastating news.
Now, cancer diagnosis changes your perspective. It changes your worldview. You know that you have a limited amount of time.
Nancy Evans, a medical editor, decided to devote her time to fighting breast cancer. Like the vast majority of women who develop breast cancer, Nancy Evans had no family history of the disease. She wondered what might have caused her breast cancer. Was it something in her past, something in the environment, some chemical or pesticide?
I think everybody asks that question. You know, what did I do, or what was I exposed to? What happened that made me have cancer?
The search for answers prompted Nancy Evans to co-produce a critically acclaimed documentary called Rachel's Daughters with two Academy Award-winning filmmakers.
Our neighborhoods were sprayed with pesticides and filled with toxic waste.
In the film, Nancy Evans and other women living with breast cancer act as medical detectives, interviewing scientists about possible environmental causes of breast cancer, including industrial pollutants, radiation, as well as chemicals in our food and water.
I don't think we will ever have proof, 99, 44, 100% proof that a particular chemical causes a particular cancer in most cases. But I think we have lots of evidence.
Nancy Evans now believes that a pesticide that was widely used during her childhood might have contributed to her breast cancer.
Tons of DDT are used in this.
I grew up in the era of DDT. I lived on a farm. We thought DDT was terrific. We sprayed it on everything.
And Nancy Evans is not alone. Many people are convinced that something in our environment is to blame for the high breast cancer rates. So it is not surprising that there is someone who takes the argument even further.
They say it's not a preventable disease. I think it is a preventable disease.
Dr. Samuel Epstein, a professor of occupational and environmental medicine at the University of Illinois, is one of the most controversial figures among cancer experts. Many say he's been sounding the same old alarm for years. Now, in his latest book, Epstein insists a lot more women could actually be saved from getting breast cancer if only they were told about what he calls avoidable risks.
For instance, women are not told that premenopausal mammography represents an important risk factor, that occupation represents an important risk factor, that there's no evidence that the second-generation pill is safe.
And the list goes on. Everything from alcohol, to hair dye, to hormones in beef, to electromagnetic fields. And Dr. Epstein makes this stunning allegation that the mainstream medical establishment has essentially conspired to withhold this information from women.
Women have been told there's nothing they can do to alter the risks, to reduce their risks of breast cancer. This is the message women get.
You are accusing the National Cancer Institute and the American Cancer Society of allowing women to die of breast cancer unnecessarily.
I accuse the cancer establishment of failing to provide women with information which is well documented in the scientific literature as to how they can reduce their risks of breast cancer. And I believe this is a public health crime, and for this, I hold them guilty.
But many critics say Epstein's accusations are wildly irresponsible and often just plain wrong.
Dr. Epstein says the cancer establishment is allowing women to die. What do you think of that?
I find it infuriating. And it's not true.
Dr. Mary Claire King is a pioneer in the field of breast cancer research.
It would be so much easier to solve this problem if it was superficial, as a conspiracy. The conspiracies are a lot easier to solve than cell biology.
Dr. King gained fame as the first scientist to identify the mutant genes that cause hereditary breast cancer.
Now, are these two unrelated people?
While most breast cancer is not inherited, it's all genetic because it involves changes in DNA that turn healthy breast cells like these into cancerous breast cells. But the question is, what triggers those changes?
So you can understand how when a woman gets breast cancer, she thinks, oh, it must have been the air pollution, it must have been the pesticides.
Oh, sure.
It must have been the radiation.
Of course. We all think that. It's only human.
But with breast cancer, there's nothing like smoking.
No. Not even close.
I mean, we don't have to worry about pesticides in our food?
I would certainly worry about pesticides in my food, but not from the point of view of breast cancer.
For instance, contrary to what many people have long suspected, a recent study found no link between breast cancer and industrial chemicals called PCBs, or DDT, the pesticide that Nancy Evans was exposed to growing up.
When you get to something like a pesticide in breast cancer, epidemiologists say the evidence just is so weak.
But we know that pesticides have been linked to other health problems. So why don't we go with the weight of the evidence and get rid of those things that we know are associated with increased health risks?
There are some gray areas, like hormone replacement therapy. Some studies indicate that postmenopausal women on HRT have higher breast cancer rates. Other research suggests women who drink alcohol, even 2 drinks a day, may be more susceptible to breast cancer. But there's a catch, because we also know that alcohol and HRT may help reduce the risk of heart disease. And what about oral contraceptives? After many studies, most scientists say the pill is generally safe.
I wish that there were for breast cancer a smoking gun in the way there is for lung cancer. If we could stop breast cancer by stopping our exposure to some risk factor, whatever it is, we'd stop. We'd stop. We'd solve the problem tomorrow.
Some scientists say if there were a cause of breast cancer, we would do something about it. But we can't find a cause.
I don't accept that.
So why is there so much breast cancer? It turns out science does have some answers, but they're not the answers many of us are looking for. The latest research suggests that cultural and lifestyle factors are far more important than toxins in the environment.
It's the lives we lead as westernized women, well-nourished, right from the beginning of our lives.
So good nourishment, a good diet, leads to more breast cancer?
Indirectly, yes. Good nutrition allows earlier menstruation, which allows more estrogen, which allows breast cancer cells to grow.
Not only are American women living longer, but they also reach puberty earlier. At the beginning of the century, girls started menstruating around age 14. Today, the average age is 12, with some girls starting as young as 8 or 9. Dr. King says the length of time between a girl's first period and menopause is critical. Why? Because with each menstrual cycle, a woman is getting a dose of the female hormone estrogen, and each dose of estrogen slightly increases her risk of breast cancer. And there's something else about our lifestyle that appears to be linked to breast cancer. The fact that more women are waiting until their late 20s or 30s to have their first child. Having a child at a young age actually seems to protect a woman from breast cancer.
Do you think that women should be counseled to have children early?
No, because we are a lot more than our breast cancer risk.
There is also growing evidence that women who are overweight are at a higher risk for breast cancer because body fat increases the amount of estrogen in the bloodstream. Conversely, women who exercise have a slightly lower risk, yet one more reason to stay in shape and keep the pounds off. But most scientists say the biggest risk is one that we cannot change or control, growing older. More than half the women who get breast cancer are over 60.
You know what really bothers me about this, Bob? The great majority of women who get breast cancer have done everything right. They are eating low-fat diets. They are drinking in moderation or not at all. They've done everything right. It is not their fault that this is happening. There may not be a definitively known cause, but medical researchers are looking for medications that would blunt the effects of estrogen and reduce the overall risk of breast cancer. Meanwhile, they say we should keep in mind that far more women die of lung cancer, which is largely caused by cigarette smoking.
Still ahead, to understand what happened in Jonesboro, you have to go inside the minds of children who kill. Tonight, we do. Also, he studied tap with Gene Kelly's brother, and he played Broadway in the 1974 musical starring the Andrews sisters.
You they were tacky, wacky for the GIs.
But you saw him dance to a different beat. Who is he? Find out in tonight's Dateline Spotlight.
Cause all they had doodly-doo, we're gonna
Figaro, 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 Figaro here, hey Figaro, Figaro there, hey Figaro, Figaro here, Figaro there, Figaro up, Figaro down, Figaro.
Vigoro Lawn Fertilizer gives you more predictable, continuous feeding, whether it's hot, cold, wet, or dry. Vigoro. People everywhere are singing its praises. Only at the Home Depot.
Enterprise? Hi, I'm at the repair shop. I need to rent a car.
Enterprise will arrange to pick you up,
This is great.
drive you to our place, and get you on your way. Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
New Revlon Moisture Stay Lip Color. Moisture that stays in your lips, even after I take the color off. My lips stay soft. Stay moisturized. New Revlon Moisture Stay with vitamin C. Moisture technology like never before.
Did he tell you he was HIV positive?
Ripped from the headlines.
He knowingly infected others with a deadly disease.
I'm never going to get married or have kids.
Justice triumphs in a landmark case.
People are dying. We have the tools to stop it. Let's use them.
If the law can't protect those women, then we've all failed.
All new Law & Order, NBC Wednesday. The motion picture event of the year. Merlin, NBC this April.
You ever try talking to teenagers? It's rough, but it's not impossible. Keep in mind that vague questions like, what'd you do today, or how was school, we usually get boring answers like, okay, or I don't know. Whereas a more interesting approach, like, obliterate many aliens today, is guaranteed to get you in the door conversationally. You see, the big thing is not you talking to your teenagers, it's getting them to talk to you.
Now the Dateline timeline. All the following events happened during the last week of March. Do you know what year it was?
I shall not see
President Johnson shocked the nation
And I
by
will not
announcing he
accept.
would not run again.
the nomination of my party for another term as your...
Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space, died in a training accident.
Are you listening? Just so you know. Plastics.
Dustin Hoffman won raves in The Graduate.
Exactly how do you mean?
I must warn you that you are in a gaseous area.
On TV, Robbie the Robot protected explorers lost in space. And Otis Redding had the top tune.
Sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away.
All right, what year was it? 1967, 1968, or 1969? The answer when Dateline continues.
Tomorrow, she's only 11, but her research may change one of the fastest growing trends in medicine, in elder care and in surgery.
I was just doing it for an interesting science project.
What did she learn that medical professionals could not?
It's just like in The Emperor's New Clothes. Some kid asks the obvious question.
Watch NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw tomorrow.
Every day, more people are choosing Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse. And here's why.
No one else sells more lawn and garden supplies.
Virtually any type plant you need, Lowe's has it.
A jungle's worth of trees and shrubs.
All back for a full year. Plus, everyday low prices guaranteed. Ask a nursery specialist.
A Lowe's nursery specialist. We really know our stuff.
After all, you can't spell flowers without Lowe's. When it comes to home improvement,
Lowe's knows.
We're doomed, John. You hear me? Doomed. We're out of water. We're out of food. We're out of hope.
I'm sorry. I couldn't help overhearing. Think you might be interested to sell your phone?
Get 120 cellular minutes a month for a year for $28.95, and residential long-distance rates as low as 9 cents a minute. It's the 360 bundle value pack.
This is one of the best little rest stops in Mississippi. It's a saltwater wetland, the kind of place nature might have made. A good spot to drop in, grab a bite, or just sit a spell. It was made by people who work in the nearby refinery. Do people need to create places so nature can spread its wings? People do.
Tallahassee's Rite of Spring is also a fight of spring.
Thursday on NBC News 40 at 6 and 11, we'll bring you an in-depth report on the controversy surrounding Andrew Jackson and his role in Springtime Tallahassee.
At 6, a look back at the beginnings of springtime and the selection of Andrew Jackson as its figurehead, plus a history lesson on just who Andrew Jackson was.
At 11, we'll find out just how divisive the issue has become and let both sides explain their position.
That's Thursday on NBC News 40 at 6 and 11.
The newest color, the greatest treatment, plus a charming clutch. Free with any 1850 Estee Lauder purchase. Now through April 11th, exclusively at Gayfer.
Jim Taylor at 6 and 11 on NBC News 40.
So what year was it? LBJ wanted out. Benjamin wanted Elaine. And the Dock of the Bay was number one. It all happened the last week of March, 1968.
Dateline, winner of the DuPont Columbia Silver Baton for Outstanding Journalism, continues.
The children of Jonesboro, Arkansas were back in school today for their first full week of class after last week's horror, asking the most difficult question any teacher will ever get. Why? Why did two boys, one as young as 11, allegedly kill 5 people and wound 10 others? Tonight we go in search of answers to that question by taking you to a place few people have ever been, inside the minds of children who have killed. Here's Ann Curry.
911, where's your emergency?
There's been shot at West Top Middle School.
Do you know if there's only one shot?
No, there's been several. There's been blood loss. There's lots of blood loss.
First, there was shock.
Young boy, you cannot fathom this. This is not supposed to happen in a small rural school.
And then a desperate search for an explanation.
I think we have to be angry at the very culture that helps to breed this kind of response in an 11-year-old child.
Kids in rural areas are getting bombarded with violent messages from across the media.
The gun gives them a sense of total power.
But for one expert, much of what has been said is empty speculation.
I've done enough of these cases now to know that there is a story, a compelling story with every one of these.
Dr. Jerry Miller is a trained psychiatric social worker who has spent hundreds of hours interviewing children who kill. He is one of the rare people who understands why they do it.
These youngsters, as I say, don't fall out of the sky. There is a history there.
Dr. Miller does not know Mitchell Johnson, Andrew Golden, or their families, but he has conducted more than 30 case studies on children who kill and has discovered some striking similarities. In every case, he says, the child was extremely fragile emotionally, filled with rage and desperate to be heard, and something had been bothering them for a long time. Killing was their way to say it.
What is the one truth about those kids and their experiences before?
The one truth is that they have had within them, as a result of early experiences, a great deal of rage. The rage is more often than not related to very serious physical and sexual abuse. Now, I'm not talking about abuse to the inner child or anything. I'm talking about gross, basic abuse.
Again, Dr. Miller does not know Andrew Golden or Mitchell Johnson, and none of the parents has any known history of physical or sexual abuse. But in every other case Miller's worked with, he says there is a family secret the child is harboring.
In all the cases you've dealt with?
In the cases I've dealt with.
Every single one?
Virtually everyone. I can't think of one now where there wasn't something like this.
He says the pattern has emerged again and again. He points to a case he was not involved in, the horrific killing in Liverpool, England in 1993, in which two 10-year-old boys abducted a 2-year-old and then tortured and beat him to death. Miller says only later was it discovered that one of the boys had been sexually abused. And there is another common thread. In more than half of his cases, Dr. Miller has found a biological component, a brain injury, that he says makes the child more prone to violence.
You're talking about severe trauma to the
Yes.
frontal part of the brain,
Yes.
the frontal two lobes
Yes.
that limit a child's ability, or person's ability to stop themselves.
Yes.
This brain defect, now being used in courtrooms as a defense, is a recent theory by neurologists. In a normal brain scan, the frontal lobes appear to be deep red, but in a damaged brain shown here, there is very little red. The result, far less control over impulses such as anger.
The impulse just fires. And as I say, it's like a brainstorm. It's very measurable.
And what is the biggest cause of this brain damage?
In most cases, I would say it's because of early childhood abuse, being banged off the wall as babies.
What makes this potent combination, a horrible secret and uncontrollable rage, even more tragic is that the troubled child often suffers in silence until something sets him off.
There is usually some specific incident that triggers it.
How often is that trigger something to do with a girlfriend?
It very often has to do with a girlfriend or a wife or a mother.
Though no one knows for sure what happened in the Arkansas case, Mitchell Johnson was believed to be extremely upset when Candace Potter, who he considered his girlfriend, reportedly broke up with him. Dr. Miller says Mitchell's reaction was another sign that something was amiss.
It's very unusual in my experience for a 13-year-old to be that taken with another 13-year-old that their whole life would depend upon that relationship.
And Dr. Miller says that in general, a child who is on shaky ground emotionally can become dangerous if he has access to guns.
Identity is very much tied into the ability of some folks to possess a gun. It tells them they're real men.
You're saying when children feel powerless because of their own experiences, when they feel that they need to feel better about themselves, the guns
Get a gun,
are
hold a
dangerous
gun, yeah.
for them to have.
I mean, I had a neighbor in Virginia who used to mow his lawn with a gun attached to his Bermuda shorts. I guess it meant a lot to him.
In Jonesboro, the families of both boys say they never saw this violence coming. Scott Johnson is Mitchell's biological father.
He was a good student. He didn't have any serious problems at home. I did not have disciplinary problems with him at home to say of.
But sources tell NBC News that Scott Johnson's live-in girlfriend filed a police report accusing Mitchell of sexually assaulting her 2-year-old daughter. Tonight, Scott Johnson had no comment, but police are looking into the alleged incident. And after the shooting, classmates recalled a number of threats the boys allegedly made.
I heard him talking to some girls, and he said that I got a lot of killing to do. I've seen Mitch bring knives to school and threaten people that if they ever broke up with him, that he would kill them. Whoever didn't like him or whoever broke up with him, whoever he thought was a snob, he was going to shoot him. Like he was going to bring a gun the next day and shoot him.
Dr. Miller believes that the boys were actually telegraphing their intentions.
When these threats come, they are really cries to stop me, stop me.
You think these boys did not want to do this? That they were trying not to do this?
Yes. Take a hired killer. He doesn't tell anyone about it. He doesn't give out little warnings. They're the kind of things that people that are struggling, for example, with depression might do. They say, I might kill myself, or I'm feeling so bad I might do such and such. It's a way to stop. Yeah, intervene, do something, get in here.
But no one did. And now, as people here struggle to heal from the deaths of 4 children and a beloved teacher, the boys accused of meticulously planning the shootings may be unable to fully grasp what they did. Andrew's grandfather says Andrew is having trouble even remembering what happened.
Kind of coming back to him. He was just kind of in a state of shock just as when we was out there. I don't think he really knew where he was at or what was going on.
People will say they must be faking it, but you just see it too often. It's just very, very common that they will describe the action itself as dreamlike, as hazy. They weren't sure.
If what happened is dreamlike to Mitchell Johnson and Andrew Golden, it is all too real to Jonesboro. It has become one small quiet town's living nightmare.
Dr. Miller says he's rarely able to find out what specifically happened to a child by talking to the child. Like most victims of abuse, They deny it. He discovers the abuse only by interviewing other people who know them and searching police and hospital records. One final note, Dr. Miller says in his experience, such children can be rehabilitated.
Coming up next, 4 months after their wedding, he was thinking about divorce.
I gotta tell you, it's tough for me to understand that. I don't understand it in the least.
Could the love lab save their marriage?
After the third session, I realized that by giving a little, I get a lot.
Also, he was voted Billboard's Best New Male Vocalist in 1976 as his hit Let Her In climbed the charts.
Gonna let her in my life.
Who was that? Find out in tonight's Dateline Spotlight.
For some reason, Americans shake Polaroid photos while they develop. It's completely unnecessary, but it's no less strange than what they do in other countries. The vigorous head rub of China is just one of many methods. Most are physical, but some are purely spiritual. In India, the anticipation can last months, while the Scots, as they often do, turn to their livestock. But regardless of the means, the enjoyment of seeing what develops is indeed universal.
You know, I've heard of these strips. Oh, they're from Pond's.
Pond's Clear Pore Strips deep clean to unclog pores and gently lift blackheads away. So all the stuff you don't want on your nose ends up on the strip.
It's like a veritable blackhead magnet.
Pond's new Clear Pore Strips.
Bye-bye, blackhead.
From the Pond's Institute.
The comfortably priced Comfort Collection. Custom upholstery that's at home, even if your house is a zoo. From Ethan Allen, where everyone's at home. The essential sale ends this weekend.
Where do you see the rate Dollar gave me on the convertible?
With great rates right at the airport, it's no wonder so many vacations start at Dollar. I believe it's what's up. Welcome to Dollar, sir. Off to the beach. Where your vacation ends up, however, is another story. Well, we're here. Going south, we put Florida on sale. Rent a Dodge GR for just $125 a week. Dollar makes sense. This kid couldn't live. Here are the model for this. Neither couldn't. He was a no. Here's the ball.
He was a fine boy.
But he had a little secret. Who was he really? What was the secret worth dying for? High school. Bad stuff happening. All new Homicide at NBC Saturday. Later tonight, King's back, and he's all new with Judge Brooks.
Apparently played some baseball recently.
You don't have the footage of me hitting the home run, do you?
No, we don't do special effects.
No.
Plus, Fran Drescher reveals her secret Hollywood crush, headlines, and more auditions for that talking taco dog.
Which camera am I looking at?
Then Conan's got John Leguizamo tonight.
From our studios in New York, here again is Jane Pauley.
What's the secret to making love last? Ask 10 people, you'll probably get 10 different answers. But experts say there are techniques any couple can learn to help keep a relationship happy and healthy. Tonight, Carol Martin introduces us to a man who spent a lifetime learning about love in a room he calls the Love Lab. Could he help you?
Blaine and Kathy O'Kelly were just starting their lives together. He's 34, an accountant for a brokerage firm. She's 32, a commercial property manager. Their wedding took place in Malibu. Trouble in paradise? Not a hint.
It was a great day. Everything I had hoped.
I just remember turning around and seeing her and how beautiful she looked, and it was perfect.
Perfect? Or was it? They've got a lot going for them, but just 4 months into their marriage, they were already learning how tricky it was to agree on their hopes and dreams.
I'd love to have not a big, scratch that. I'd like to have two. I'd like to have a family and healthy, happy kids.
First, though, they have to get over another hurdle, one that's common to millions of marriages. When the O'Kellys argue, it's about money.
The way we look at money and spending money is a lot different. Is that fair?
That's very fair.
Even though they make healthy salaries, the talks about money have become painful. So painful, Blaine confided to us that the unthinkable had crossed his mind. Did you ever think that these arguments could lead to divorce?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yes.
Did you let Kathy know?
No.
Now, this is a couple very much in love, but that's how maddening the fights over money had become. And that's where marriages get in trouble. The festering frustration that keeps getting pushed back until it's too late and the damage is done. Experts say this could happen to your marriage if you're not ready to resolve the conflict. Blaine and Kathy decided they were ready to do that. That's where this man comes in, Dr. John Gottman, a psychologist at the University of Washington. His life's work is putting marriages under a microscope. Over the past 20 years, he studied 2,000 couples, looking for the secrets of marital success.
One of the things we find, very simple result, is that if there's a lot of fondness and admiration that people have for one another, particularly husbands for wives, it's a very, very good sign. It predicts stability and happiness very well.
The O'Kellys agreed to open their marriage to Gottman's scrutiny as our cameras watched, and we got a glimpse of how Gottman works. His intervention starts at the beginning, all the way back to their first date.
No. So, I finally gave in. I thought, oh, please let him kiss good. If he doesn't kiss good, this is going to be tough. It's great kissing.
Watching their body language, how their faces light up, Gottman could see this couple was very fond of each other, but the sooner they attacked the money issue, the better.
You're going to be in this chair.
Okay.
And I guess I'll kind of explain it to you.
Blaine and Kathy headed into the Love Lab, nicknamed for this tiny room equipped with remote-controlled cameras. They were hooked up to a battery of machines that would measure their heart rates and other physiological responses. Their task, to spend 15 minutes alone together talking about their problems, and they were being watched closely.
That stuff I used to work through in my head, we're now working out loud, so it makes it more obvious when I'm resistant to something.
Well, you know, what's interesting about, our inability to resolve things from, let's go back to Maddie.
Ah, yes. The root of the money problem. Maddie was a 9-year-old mare. Kathy's pride and joy. Blaine was actually quite taken with the horse when they started dating, but now that they're married, he's overwhelmed at how much it costs to support the horse. Over $1,000 a month. He says for them, that's the equivalent of a second mortgage. Blaine had talked about getting rid of Maddie, but Kathy has a powerful emotional attachment to the horse and can't let go.
I don't know if that's a resolvable issue. But
at this point, Dr. Gottman intervened. He said a key exercise for them was to describe and listen to each other's dreams, their hopes for their marriage.
Part of what needs to happen, I think, is that each of you need to hear, the dream connected to each of your positions.
Kathy's dream, to hold on to Maddie and all that the horse represented.
On an emotional level, there's times that I go out there and I well up, just like, wow, this is what makes me happy. I'm going to do it now. To have this huge animal that has affection for you and shows affection for you.
Blaine's dream was to own a boat, have a cabin in the woods, and financial security.
Our lifestyles are not going to change to the degree that we can afford those sort of things. And so what I see is my dreams just fading away.
But this is about more than a cabin or a bank account or a horse. Dr. Gottman says it's all about control in the marriage. Time for a second session in the Love Lab.
What I see is that we still have a long ways to go. And that's the hard part for me. When what's my reaction? Well, I feel like I've given up my dream for the sake of you pursuing yours, is what it boils down to.
Yeah, but we're not pursuing mine. I think the one thing we really need to work on is our views of compromise.
Kathy appears calm here, talking about compromise, but look what's raging below the surface. She's clearly upset.
We saw her heart rate going up to as high as 125 beats a minute. And this is without being on a treadmill. They're sitting there calmly. And what's happening is really a process we call flooding. It's kind of an internal state where you just want to get out of there.
I really thought we were getting nowhere. Absolutely nowhere.
Gottman intervened once again.
I see some real serious problems here.
It was time to separate and talk strategy. While Dr. Gottman spoke to Blaine in one room, his colleague told Kathy to be upfront about her feelings.
Oh, I'd like to tell him that he's first, absolutely. But if push came to shove, I would definitely choose the life that we're trying to build together.
Meanwhile, Blaine was told he may think he's compromising, but he isn't.
So what my advice to you is give up some of the power. Let her be powerful in this whole thing, okay? So it's like, you feel like you're giving in too much, you got to give in more.
Now, session 3. Will the advice work?
I would never choose Maddie over you. If we had to make that decision, there's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, but we don't have to make that decision. I mean,
right, but
right. I'm just all I'm saying is we don't have to make that decision. I mean, we can work out the Maddie thing, I would think, where I could support you on that. But
I think that's great. I almost fell off my chair when he came back, and I felt that's maybe not the first time, but certainly the first time talking about those subjects that I felt like we were listening to each other, hearing each other.
Perhaps for the first time in their new marriage, the O'Kellys are truly communicating. But Gottman warns they have to talk about the money problem and how the horse figures into it every day, or their marriage won't last. It's advice that applies to all couples, no matter the issue.
The marriages that actually wind up being stable and happy really don't tolerate the negativity as much. They've got sort of a marital poop detector, and they're kind of gentle about it, but they bring up the problem.
And what did Kathy and Blaine learn from the Love Lab?
I learned to listen to him. I learned that I really need to nurture his dream and make him feel like we're making progress towards his dream. And I also learned not to let go of mine.
But how do you do all of that?
One step at a time.
when I sit back after yesterday, there was no we. We need to find a dream together. You know, we need to concentrate on that.
So what do you think? Are you guys going to make this for the long haul?
Oh, I think we're in it for the long haul. With as stubborn as we are, if we set our minds to it, we'll make it.
So how are the O'Kellys doing? They say they've completely stopped fighting about money, and their marriage is better than ever. Communication and compromise seem to be the key. For instance, Kathy has sold old Maddie, but she hasn't given up riding completely. She now leases a horse, which costs a whole lot less.
Coming up next, one movie made him a sensation, but he turned down roles that propelled another actor to stardom, American Gigolo and An Officer and a Gentleman. Who is he? Find out in tonight's Dateline Spotlight. Dateline will continue after this message from your local station.
Tonight on Your News at 11, a compromise brings a more diverse springtime Tallahassee, but not one everyone agrees with. I'm Kevin Christopher. Join Stacey Adams and me for Your News at 11.
Bobby, looks like you found a home in Bakersville. Holy Toledo, Bob. You've been traded to the Torpedoes. They love you.
Just because you're always on the go
Shreveport, Bobby. Shreveport. It's a good trade, kid.
doesn't mean you can't take along the KFC chicken you crave. Pick up boneless all-white meat Colonel strips. For a limited time, grab 3 crispy strips, wedges, and a Pepsi for just $2.99. They're ready to go when you are.
2 words, Bob. Knitsu Carp.
Isn't it time for some really good chicken?
Cake. But I'd need the mix.
It's in the box.
The frosting?
It's in the box.
The pan?
It's in the box. Give in to Betty Crocker's easiest mixes. New stir and bake. Just add water.
Oh, yeah.
I'm someone who's very in touch with my roots, and I owe it all to fade-resistant Preference by L'Oreal. Now with Preference, I fear nothing. The sun, the wind, nothing at all. Powerful stay-true colorants that resist fading mean color won't fade out. And special conditioners mean hair won't dry out. Rich color, golden color, bright and brand new color, color that won't fade out or dry out. With Preference, my deep-rooted fears are a thing of the past. And I'm worth it. Fade-resistant Preference by L'Oreal.
You can't be in this business and not love flowers. You know, we grow over 500 million flowers a year. We want big flowers, and that's why we use Miracle-Gro. Growing plants is really easy. A dose of Miracle-Gro every so often, and I guarantee you, you're going to have nothing but great results.
Hey, how's it going?
Can't complain.
It's the rugged SUV with a smooth ride.
Hey, can I borrow your eyebrow pencil?
The Montero Sport, one of the sport utility vehicles from Mitsubishi. Now financing as low as 2.9% APR is available on any new 98 Mitsubishi.
That's incredible. He made the same impossible shot twice in a row.
The instant replay.
This father-son moment brought to you by Frasier. Then it's Tuesday's new must-see TV hit, Late Line. It's special.
Gail, you are the embodiment of everything that... Not a chance.
Late Line after Frasier, NBC Tuesday.
And now, tonight's Dateline Spotlight. His role in Pulp Fiction proved there are second acts in Hollywood. His provocative new movie opened last week, and this past weekend he was back as the leader of the T-Birds, 20 years after moviegoers first heard. So we've put John Travolta in tonight's Dateline Spotlight.
Music. Coming to stone in 4, 3, 2, 1.
And dissolve the stone.
And now here's Matt Lauer with a look at what's coming up tomorrow on Today.
Stone, thank you. In addition to our follow-up stories on the Arkansas school shootings and Ken Starr's investigation, we'll also look at the lighter side. Rosie O'Donnell will preview her new movie. It's called Wide Awake. And cellist Yo-Yo Ma sits down with Jamie Gangel. All that and much more tomorrow on Today. Jane?
Now let's take a look at one of the stories we're working on for Dateline Tuesday. You send your kids to school in them, and you think they're safe. But are they?
I received the call that every parent fears most.
When vans replace traditional school buses, is your child's life at risk?
They knew they were gambling with safety issues. They did not tell us.
On Dateline Tuesday.
And that's Dateline for this Monday. We'll see you again for Dateline Tuesday at 10, 9 Central Time. Now stay tuned for your late local news. I'm Stone Phillips, and for all of us at NBC News, good night.
Later on an all-new Tonight Show, Jay brings you Fran Drescher and Garth Brooks. Boy, are your ears going to be confused. Your local news is next.
Coming up next on NBC News 4811, Tallahassee Mayor Scott Maddox says adding 2 floats depicting diversity is the first step in ending the springtime Tallahassee controversy. Why some people say it's 2 steps back when your news starts now.